It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, a man is charged with 10 counts of attempted murder after Saturday's knife attack on a train in Cambridgeshire. 32-year-old Anthony Williams is also charged over a separate stabbing in East London earlier that day. He has been remanded in custody. It comes as Cambridgeshire police refer themselves to the complaints watchdog as they investigate whether there is a connection between 3 other incidents in Peterborough and the Huntingdon train attack. Meanwhile, tonight there are extra patrols and armed officers at stations around the UK as the attack sparks calls for greater security on the rail network. Also ahead tonight, 4 people injured as a train derails in Cumbria. An early morning service from Glasgow to London Euston coming off the tracks after hitting a landslide. We'll have the latest from the scene. Plus, Prince William arrives in Brazil for his Earthshot Prize ceremony. The senior royals tried to put controversy around Andrew behind them. And health experts warn that some high street clinics carrying out baby scans are putting lives at risk. We'll hear one mother's story as calls grow for better regulation. All that's come and much more on the UK Tonight. We begin tonight with the latest on the knife attack on a train in Cambridgeshire on Saturday evening. 32-year-old Anthony Williams has been remanded in custody, charged with 11 counts of attempted murder. He has also been charged in relation to an incident on London's DLR network earlier that same day. Meanwhile, police say they are reviewing 3 further incidents in Peterborough that took place before the train attack, including the stabbing of a 14-year-old boy, to see if they are linked to Williams. The Home Secretary has confirmed that he was not known to security services. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt has our first report tonight.
This was the arrest of suspect Anthony Williams, British and 32 years old, held by armed police in the car park of Huntingdon Station. Less than 48 hours later, Williams was brought to court to face 14 charges. It was a brief hearing. Dressed in a grey tracksuit, Williams was handcuffed and flanked by 4 guards. For most of the hearing, he had his head bowed, speaking softly to confirm his name. When he was asked for his address, he said of no fixed abode. He didn't ask for bail. He's charged with 10 attempted murders from Saturday night's train attack and possession of a knife. He's also accused of assaulting a police officer after his arrest. An incident at a station in East London earlier on Saturday prompted a second set of charges. Williams is accused of attempted murder and knife possession there. A man allegedly suffered facial injuries. Police said they were looking at other potentially linked crimes, 3 in Peterborough on Friday and Saturday. At a barber's, there were 2 reported sightings of a man with a knife. Police didn't go to the first sighting. The second time, they did search, but couldn't find the suspect. In the city centre on Friday night, a 14-year-old boy was stabbed by a man and later discharged from hospital. Police couldn't find the suspect. In a statement, Cambridgeshire police said, "We are currently reviewing all incidents in the timeframe to understand whether there were any further potential offences." British Transport Police retain primacy for the overall investigation, which will include these 3 incidents. We voluntarily referred ourselves to the Independent Office for Police Conduct for independent scrutiny of these incidents, as is standard practice in these cases. The train where the stabbing happened was finally driven away to a depot, the forensic examination completed. One of the train staff, seriously injured and hailed as a hero for confronting the attacker, was still in hospital, but stable. In the House of Commons, the Home Secretary spoke about the tragedy.
The sickening act of the man who committed this crime was the very worst of humanity. But the actions of those who responded, who ran towards danger to save the lives of people they did not know, was the very best of us. I know we all share in paying tribute to their extraordinary bravery today.
Scumbag! Anthony Williams was driven away from court after his hearing, past an angry crowd. He'll be back in court on the 1st of December. Martin Brunt, Sky News, Peterborough.
A little earlier, I spoke to local taxi driver VRL Toturica, who captured footage of the arrest while he was parked next to the station. I started by asking him what he saw unfold.
Going towards the station and obviously arrived to the station about like 7:41 when I arrived there to pick up a passenger. So I parked the car waiting for the passenger, and in couple minutes, to say like that, even like less, or 7:43 to say like that, everybody started running towards the other side of the train station, like mass. Everybody was running. So being in the car, obviously I didn't understood what's going on. The window was up and some music in the car. So I stopped the music and I put the window down to have like a better hearing about like what was happening, why people are running. And I start hearing straight away like police or ambulance sirens to say, and like I start looking around, and very, very, very quick from in front of my car, I saw police getting inside the train station, some of them getting inside the train station, and other of them like being directed more or less to my area where I was parked. And when I moved my head to the right to look over the window, I saw the person with the knife.
A huge police presence, as you said there, given the severity of this incident. You at the time don't really understand what's unfolding, but you know it's serious given what you witnessed, what you filmed, and also the police and emergency services arriving on the scene. How did you feel when you found out what happened? Obviously, it was sometime after you left the station. What was your reaction when you heard the full picture of what had unfolded?
Honestly, I could not believe that this kind of situation happened here in this area. You know, like it's a small place. I'm gonna call it small place in comparison with London, and it's a quiet place. Not much happening, like violence or problems. And when I heard what happened, like because you start hearing like people talking about like 10 person already stopped, and you know like the conversation is not just one person, there are two, there are three, and like it is getting, you know, like a little bit concerning because everybody was trying to get away from there. So like in my case, being like a taxi driver, I don't know who I'm gonna get in my car.
Virel, thank you so much. I hope your shift goes well tonight. Obviously, really shocking and, yeah, traumatising for everyone involved. Like to see that unfolding, like you said, like something out of the movies. So
I mean, I still don't realize, to be honest, the gravity of the situation, because obviously I was not in the train. Yeah. I was outside. So the impact towards me was less in comparison with the people, hundreds of people in the train, which they use the train every day, you know. So I don't know how they're going to have the courage to, for example, this morning to go into a train to go to work.
The local taxi driver VRL Toturica speaking to me earlier, filming the arrest of the suspect involved in that attack. Well, the stabbing attack has sparked calls for greater security on the UK rail network. There is increased police patrols, we understand, at stations across the country tonight, and there have been throughout the day. Earlier, the Transport Secretary ruled out installing airport-style security scanners. Sky's Ashna Hernag has been speaking to commuters.
Monday's commute came with added concern. At major stations around the UK, from Glasgow to London, armed officers and extra patrols on the concourse, as the events of Saturday night in Huntingdon weighed heavy on the minds of many, including grandparents Tracy and Darren Tabor. They took the very same train service from Yorkshire on Sunday for a concert. Events of the night before almost made them cancel their plans.
We travelled down from Yorkshire and we was absolutely terrified, and we got on the same train that it happened on, so we had to come through there to get to London to see a show. But we thought, no, we're not going to not do it, we are going to go through with it. But we are scared, I'm not going to lie, we are really scared.
It makes you worried about like your safety. Are you safe on the trains? No, you're not. You're not
safe anywhere.
The daily grind of those passing through London's King's Cross, now punctured by caution and trepidation.
Just wouldn't expect it. Like, you really wouldn't expect it. And I'm not saying you would expect it on tubes, but you always do go back to things that's happened on tubes. I don't feel that emotional about it. It's because it does give you really bad anxiety.
I know there's like other emergencies that police might be needed, but it's always nice to have like a police presence just anywhere, really.
That nervousness, not unfounded. Incidents of passengers and public assaults increased over the last 4 years on the main line and is now at a record high. There were over 10,200 assaults to passengers or members of the public in the latest year, an increase of 7% compared to the previous year.
The anxiety around train travel, therefore, is understandable. The majority of assaults involved harassment rather than physical violence, but some do believe that additional security measures would be a deterrent.
But the government says any measure on Britain's railways would need to be proportionate.
I don't think airport-style scanners would be the way to go. We have thousands of railway stations across the UK, and those stations have multiple entrances, multiple platforms. So what we can't do is make life impossible for everyone, but we do need to take sensible and proportionate steps to make the public transport network safe.
The increased security presence will last until Tuesday evening. The aim is to provide reassurance, but will 2 days really be enough? Ashen Haranag, Sky News.
Well, joining me now, former Met Police officer Chris Hobbs. Good evening to you, Chris. You'll have heard some of what the Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said to us earlier today on Sky News. The government will review security arrangements and respond swiftly in a proportionate way, but ruling out airport-style security. What do you think would be a proportionate response here?
I think there definitely needs to be a review without any question whatsoever. But that review, I think, needs to incorporate the practitioners. So when we're talking about review, that needs to incorporate the station staff, those who are on the trains who did such a fantastic job during this incident, and police officers and members of the public. I think there is a lot more to be done. You mentioned statistics there. There's another statistic that I dug out today, and that was 4,000 violent assaults reported specifically on British trains over the year, not including stations. Now, you could say millions of people use the railways. On the other hand, you could say 4,000 is a frightening figure. So we do need more. And we also probably need to look at passengers on a train where there is a problem, how they can communicate that problem out. In other words, in terms of location. So they need to, if you're on a train, you're not necessarily going to know where you are when this violent incident is occurring. So there again, that needs to be looked at. Could be, for example, on the screens that many trains have, you might have a constant running information as to where you are, maybe using that what 3-word system. So if you're a member of the public, there's a violent incident developing, you can use that as the location. Another useful number, if you are in the midst of trouble and you can't dial your phone openly, there is a number, a text number, 61016. 61016. Now that sends a text message to the British Transport Police Communications Room, who then will action what needs to be done. Because bear in mind, of course, in some parts of the country, you might pull into a station where there's trouble, but the policing of that area will be very sparse. You might have 1 vehicle or 2, no armed officers until miles away, perhaps, before they can get to you. It's going to take a long time. So you need maximum communication, not just involving the staff, but also with passengers who hit a problem and need to tell police urgently so police can start moving those resources to where the problem is. As for prevention, arches, no, I've seen those at Notting Hill Carnival. They will constantly go off and they would all need to be staffed. But I think better communication, more police. The British Transport Police, less than 3,000 officers. They're good at what they do. There needs to be more of them.
Yeah, Chris, the railway network in this country is huge, and you point out there, you know, many of the trains connect rural communities where there isn't many police around. It's in remote areas. You mentioned there British Transport Police. You say that more is needed. Just give us your assessment of how you think the staff on that train dealt with that situation, because we had a statement from the driver earlier today who said, you know, he did as he was trained to do. He carried out that plan effectively, and he paid tribute to the staff in the train carriages, of course, one of which is in a critical but stable condition this evening. As we've gone throughout the day here on Sky News talking about this issue of safety on the trains, it seems to be a combination of public vigilance, you know, those of us in London will have heard see it, say it, sort it, and staff training as well, the staff on the trains being aware of what to do when the worst happens. Because though this is rare, you know, incidents over the weekend shows that it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. The staff were absolutely superb who did that. And I've no doubt staff on many trains will react in that way. I think we need to make sure their communication hit this. The guard or the staff member obviously had communication with the line controller. That's great. What happens if he needs the assistant? If he wants to communicate with the police directly, maybe a little red button, as police have on their radios, to signify something urgent is happening. And maybe, of course, their training, perhaps like all training, needs to be reviewed, updated. Let's get them to the best possible position. But also remember, many trains, shorter routes, commuter routes, only have the driver. There is no staff on the shorter route trains. So that's something else that needs to be looked at in terms of responding to an incident where there's simply the driver. And you can't really have the driver leaving his cabin to go and sort out the problem that's going on behind them. So all these aspects of the current issue that is being highlighted need to be the subject to review. And let's hope the government doesn't drag its feet and listen to people who know what they're talking about rather than some of the great and the good.
Yeah. Chris, really good to talk to you tonight. Chris Hobbs there, former Metropolitan Police officer. Thank you.
No problem.
Now, 4 people were left with minor injuries after a train derailed in Cumbria this morning. The Avanti West Coast train had been carrying 85 passengers when it came off the tracks after reportedly hitting a landslide. All passengers were escorted to safety. Our Chief North of England correspondent, Greg Milam, has this report.
The 428 from Glasgow to London, static in the Lake District. The front carriage, you can see, still upright, but derailed. In the darkness of the early morning, travelling at more than 80 miles an hour, the train's thought to have struck a landslide on the tracks. This image shows the result of that impact to the front of the train. More than 80 people were on board at the time. No one was badly injured.
What would appear to be an earthworks issue today will be the heart of our investigation. As I would stress, we put a significant amount of importance and effort into managing our risks around structures, earthworks and extreme weather. That will clearly form part of the investigation and the outputs from it.
The train and its crew performed exactly as they should have done in an incident like this. Passengers were ushered to a nearby hotel. This kind of incident, they say, is exceptionally rare, but this area has seen derailments before, some fatal. And the local MP says there are questions to be answered.
It's an absolute fact that the Network Rail and the Department for Transport have chosen to defer indefinitely the investment north of Crewe, what was called the Tri-Link project, the modernisation programme. And as a consequence, there are regular line closures north of Preston, particularly in North Cumbria and in Scotland, because of this lack of investment. So I'm not saying that has anything to do with the incident today, but it's a reminder that we have a fragile, elderly network here.
The Rail Accident Investigation Branch is now leading the investigation into the derailment. The conditions for those working at the site of this incident are described as challenging. This happened close to the highest point of the West Coast main line. And there are 2 jobs now: to establish how and why this happened, but also to move that train and get the line open. That, they say, could take several days. Disruption for many, yes, but also relief here at an incident that could have had a very different outcome. Greg Milam, Sky News, Cumbria.
Prince William has arrived in Brazil for the 5th annual Earthshot Prize, the environment awards that he founded. The Prince of Wales will visit some of Rio de Janeiro's most iconic sites before attending the Earthshot Awards on Wednesday evening. But while his focus is on his environmental efforts, will the event be overshadowed by the continuing controversy surrounding his uncle, Andrew Windsor? Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills has the latest from Rio.
Well, with this as our backdrop, you probably don't need me to tell you that today is all about the big pictures for what has been probably a more anticipated trip because of what we've seen happening around the royal family over the last few days. Of course, William, now here for his first engagement, will be hoping to kind of sweep away some of those negative headlines as much as possible. Over there at the moment, he's just received the keys of the city from the mayor of Rio, which apparently is a really big deal. And yeah, you couldn't probably get a better, more iconic setting for his welcome to Brazil, which is also about kind of celebrating the ties between the UK and Brazil on a whole raft of areas, including kind of cultural ties, business ties, and also, of course, the environment, which we're going to hear him talking an awful lot about over the next few days. But I think also for Prince William, he wants to make sure that, yeah, his Earthshot prize takes centre stage after what has been a really tumultuous few weeks. They'll be doing everything they possibly can to try and avoid any mention of Andrew, his uncle, his name, any negativity. So by keeping events as upbeat as possible, he's going to go to the Maracanã Stadium where he's going to meet up with young people engaging on that big environmental issue around the climate crisis. And I think probably he is quite mindful, certainly his team is, that when it comes to that younger audience that he wants to engage with, they really want to see their global leaders as being progressive, as being socially engaged, and that means not being afraid to call things out, not wanting to turn a blind eye when it comes to difficult subjects, which of course the royal family have also had to face in the last few weeks. At the Maracanã, we know he's a massive football fan. He is expected potentially to get onto the pitch. We know that the famous Brazilian footballer Cafu is also going to be there. But yeah, I think what they're going to do over the next few days is trying to really bombard us with kind of every iconic part of Rio to really, I suppose, as heir to the throne, try and kick away those negative headlines.
Still to come on the UK tonight, we'll be hearing from the British teenager released from jail in Georgia of being held on drug smuggling charges. Plus, the only survivor who walked away from June's Air India crash tells Sky News the trauma of the incident broke him.
I saw police being forceful, pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests. Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of Tremendous support.
What country?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles.
A pregnant British teenager has been released from jail in Georgia after being held on drug smuggling charges. 19-year-old Bella Cully was arrested at Tbilisi airport in May and accused of trying to smuggle 14 kilograms of cannabis into the country. She could have faced up to 15 years in jail, but her lawyer told Sky News they made a plea agreement.
Bella, can you just tell us how you're feeling now that you walked free?
Happy and relieved.
The only survivor of June's Air India crash has told Sky News the trauma he experienced has left him broken. Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, who you can see here in the immediate aftermath of the crash, was the sole survivor of Air India Flight 171, which crashed just moments after takeoff on the 12th of June. Well, he's been sharing his story with our morning's presenter, Sophie Ridge.
What happened? When did you first realise something was wrong?
It's quite difficult to explain myself.
Do you remember it?
It's very hard.
So you took off and then quite quickly the plane, it stopped? It seemed to hang in the air. Is that right? How is your life now? Do you feel angry towards Air India?
Okay. Everything is changing, isn't it? After that crash. Like me, mentally, physically. Also my family is,
Yeah.
Whole family broke down.
How's it been for your family?
All it broke down and it's
I'm so sorry that you didn't ask for this. You were the victim. And it's had this impact on you and the people you love. It's very difficult. Do you feel physical pain?
Yes.
What pain do you feel?
My knee, shoulder, and back, and some burning in right left arm. But still pain in my body.
And is it hard to go upstairs, to move around?
Yeah.
Do you leave the house? Do you go out? Do you do things?
Just sit on my bed and all day.
Do you watch TV? Is that what you do?
I don't like anything watching. I just think about my brother and just.
Your brother who died?
He's my younger brother.
What was he like?
He's for me, he's everything for me. He's giving me backbone. He give me all the time. He support me. I still am not believe that it's not more.
In a statement, Air India said, "We are deeply conscious of our responsibility to provide Mr. Ramesh with support through what must have been an unimaginable period. Care for him and indeed all families affected by the tragedy remains our absolute priority." Senior leaders from across Tata Group continue to visit families to express their deepest condolences. An offer has been made to Mr. Ramesh's representatives to arrange such a meeting. We will continue to reach out, and we very much hope to receive a positive response. Still to come on the UK Tonight, health experts warn that some high street clinics carrying out baby scans are putting lives at risk. We'll hear one mother's story. Health experts are warning that some high street clinics are putting lives at risk by allowing unqualified non-specialists to carry out baby scans. The Society of Radiographers say its members have seen examples of pregnant women being incorrectly diagnosed with serious health conditions and given dangerous advice. Well, joining me in the studio tonight, Charlotte Tolley, mum of 3 and campaigner on this issue, alongside Amy Heath, a lawyer specialising in medical negligence. Ladies, thank you both for coming in this evening to talk about what appears to be a growing problem that isn't being talked about enough. Charlotte, talk to me about your experience. Why did you go for a private scan?
I wanted extra reassurance. I'd had a previous miscarriage, which triggered some emotions going to NHS scans, and it just made me feel anxious. So I opted to go for private scans where I felt like I was going to feel more comfortable, more at home, and you do kind of tend to believe that if you're paying for private healthcare that you are getting
the best of the best.
Yeah, a sort of more in-depth healthcare.
Yeah, that's the kind of experience that you paid for. That's what you believed you were getting. What did you actually get?
Well, I specifically chose a health and wellbeing scan because I wanted to know the health and wellbeing of my baby. So it wasn't just a gender reveal scan. And the paperwork suggested they were going to check heart, lungs, brain. I made them aware of the fact that I'm not going to be doing all of my NHS scans, so I did the first one, and under their guidance, if there was anything spotted, that I would then go back to the NHS if there was any abnormalities. And I went in and we had the scan and we discussed all the parts of the baby and, you know, feet and toes and all of that stuff. And the sonographer seemed really happy, ticked all the boxes that he'd checked heart, lungs and brain, and that everything was good. And that's what I was led to believe all the way through the pregnancy. And I had 2 late scans with this private clinic. And then when I gave birth to Lucas in the March 2020, obviously it's pandemic time and lockdown started, he became more and more unwell and he wasn't feeding and he was losing weight. And I kept calling the health visitor and the hospital, and unfortunately at that time, lots of those services were being restricted. So eventually one Tuesday afternoon, I kind of was just like, this is not okay. There's definitely something wrong with my baby. And I called for an ambulance. We were rushed into hospital and doctors crowding around him in A&E, and they said he's chronically dehydrated. He was very, very yellow. You could see all of his veins. He was so thin, his head looked huge compared to the rest of his body. And she said to me, if you'd have left it another 24 hours, he wouldn't be here. So that was obviously quite a shock. And then we spent a couple of days in our local hospital. They put him on drips to rehydrate him. And I said to the doctor, there's something wrong with him. He looks swollen. And the doctor had a quick check and he did an ultrasound through his cranium. And straight away, the doctor looked scared and worried. And straight away, obviously, made me feel the same, because if a doctor's scared, then you should be scared. And he was rushed for an MRI. And that evening, I was sat down and I was shown images that shocked me, because you know what a brain looks like, roughly. But to look at an MRI of a brain and see half of the imaging blacked out, I knew something wasn't right. And I turned to the doctor and I said, is he going to die? And the doctor just said to me, I'm really sorry, he's got brain abnormalities, they're very serious. We are going to have to send you to a specialised children's hospital, and Lucas is going to need a lot of care.
Is this something that should have been spotted by a trained radiographer, sonographer at your baby scan?
Yeah, 100%. So we were sent to a specialised hospital, Southampton Children's Hospital. And in that time, Lucas was tested for everything and given loads and loads of scans. And the consultant who deals with all the ultrasounds and MRIs said to me, this must have been a terrible pregnancy for you. You must have been really stressed and really worried. And I said, no, like, I was fine. What do you mean? And she said, but you must have been told and aware because it's so obvious. This would have been picked up on scans. And I said, no, I wasn't told. And it was then that I realised that I had been misled and that we had not been given proper care and they'd been negligent.
Well, Charlotte, first of all, I'm so sorry. And you're sitting alongside Amy, who is a negligence partner at the law firm Stewart's, and you're working with Amy. And Amy, sadly, Charlotte's story isn't an isolated case. You're working with a lot of families that have had similar experiences because there are around 200 of these private baby clinics that offer the scans to reassure mothers, but they're not properly regulated from what we understand today.
No, they're not. So sonographers, it's not a regulated profession. So in the UK, we have one of the most highly regulated healthcare systems, and yet sonographers, it's an unregulated profession. As the Society of Radiographers have said today, anyone can get the machinery and go and call themselves a sonographer. And given the importance of that role, what they're looking at and the risk to patients, it's baffling.
And what are some of these families telling you? Because, you know, a lot of mothers, you know, Charlotte used it instead of NHS scans, she had one NHS scan, and then, you know, there are waiting lists and things like that, so people think it's better and easier to go private. That's understandable. But many women use them as a supplementary scan because, you know, when you think about it, you have 2 scans, don't you, during pregnancy, one at 12 weeks or one at a later stage, and it can seem like a long time not to know anything about what's going on with your baby. So many use them for reassurance, but what they don't know is that without the qualifications, they're not looking for the right things.
No, they're not. A wellbeing scan, you know, if any person looks at a wellbeing scan and you think they will check everything, but it will be on a par with a 20-week scan, for example, especially if you're going around that stage, but it's just not. Even the protocols followed by the clinics, the time allowed for the scans, it just simply doesn't allow you to check everything that you think would be part of a proper wellbeing scan. Added to that, if you've then got someone who's actually not properly trained and not properly regulated or accountable, then you've just got something that falls far short of what people are going for.
Charlotte, why are you telling your story? What is it you want to see, and what is it you want mothers to understand when they go for these private scans?
To protect other mothers and children and families, because this hasn't just affected myself. It's not just about Lucas, it's about his siblings and our wider family. It's completely changed our lives and turned our lives upside down. We live by meds alarms and things now, so we've had to move house, and it's caused a lot of upset. And I just don't want other mothers to continue to be misled by these clinics and have this feeling of like they're going to be safe and they're going to be well looked after, because they're not. These clinics are looking for profit and they're money hungry, and they're not looking after their patients. They're not looking after the people that are coming through their doors. They're interested in one thing only, and that's growth of business.
Well, Charlotte, thank you for coming in to tell the story. It's a really important one to hear because so many mums going for these scans will not understand. You know, you go to a clinic and you think it's properly regulated and the person carrying out is properly qualified, and important questions to be asked and tighter regulation to be called for. Charlotte Tolley, thank you, and Amy Heath as well. Let's speak now to Katie Thompson, President of the Society of Radiographers. You'll have listened to Charlotte's story there. How concerned are you by this?
At the Society of Radiographers, we're really concerned about this. We've been raising this issue of regulation since 1990. With the growth of the high street clinics over the past few years, the amount of evidence that we've been attaining to put forward to strengthen our argument about regulation has grown stronger and stronger. These kind of stories are not unusual, and we really want the government to listen to the fact that regulation is really important. There's much more wider range of people coming into sonography from different avenues now, and the regulation that we have now with the people that are regulated with radiography, midwifery or nursing is not always the case now with other people that actually are coming and performing the scans, and there's no accountability. We can't send them or report them to anybody because there's no regulatory body for us to report these people that are performing poorly and causing harm to mothers and babies.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite shocking to hear just then that, you know, under current rules, anyone with an ultrasound machine can call themselves a sonographer. And, you know, you've got mums going in there wanting to know the well-being of their baby, often coming out with false information, given bad advice. What examples of poor practice have you been hearing about?
Well, I'm a practicing sonographer, so I still am working clinically, and I have in the last couple of months scanned a lady that was referred from a clinic with a suspected miscarriage, and the clinic had measured an area of bleed next to a very early pregnancy sac where there was a 6-week baby, which was absolutely fine. And the parents had been told that the baby wasn't there and that they'd had a miscarriage. So they were undoubtedly shocked, upset by the news that they'd given at the clinic, which was then incorrect.
I mean, it's clear that there needs to be more regulation. How urgently do you want the government to look at this? Because, you know, that example you gave there is just absolutely awful. And we've just heard Charlotte's story as well. She felt that she was robbed of a choice to make for her family that's now affected not just her and her young boy Lucas, but the wider family as well. How urgent should this be treated?
I think the urgency is increasing. We are being more and more alarmed by the amount of stories that are coming in on a far too regular basis. And we feel really strongly that this needs to be addressed now. And that regulation for sonography should be something that is in the first really important to be done now. It needs to be discussed now, and regulation needs to be put into place as soon as possible so we can protect our patients. So that if you are going for a scan with whoever it might be, whether it's in the private sector or not, that you know that the person that's carrying out this scan is appropriately qualified. And if there is any issues with regards to their practice, you have somewhere that you can go to report them if you think that they do have poor practice, so that they can be removed from the register and not allowed to scan anymore.
Yeah, and Katie, just to reinforce the message that NHS scans are the most important. We were just reflecting on the fact that pregnant women only get 2, one at 12 weeks and one at 20 weeks. And you can understand why women want to go for supplementary high street scans because, you know, your pregnancy feels long and you can't see what's going on. You just want that extra reassurance. But I suppose the message today is to reinforce the fact that it's the NHS scans are the ones that you have to go for.
The NHS scans are very important. There are some very good, well-run private clinics around that have appropriately qualified sonographers that also work in the NHS but do private work as well. And some ladies
How can women tell the difference? That's the problem, isn't it? What questions should they be asking?
So they should be asking the local hospital, their GP or midwife or sonographer what clinics they would recommend, because they know the clinics that they would go to themselves or the clinics that they would not recommend for patients to use because of the people that are being referred into them. Check that they've had a recent CQC visit. A lot are registered with the CQC, but there are many clinics that have never had a visit from the CQC, and there's a lot that aren't registered with the CQC at all. So ask friends and family, look online at the reviews, but mainly ask your local hospital or midwife. They will be aware of the clinics that have appropriately trained staff off, especially if you are anxious in the early few weeks of pregnancy and you feel a scan would be helpful. But your 12-week and your 20-week scan at the NHS are very important. But yeah, just do your homework and just check that the clinic you are going to be using has the right level of governance and the right level of education for the sonographers, that you know that you are going to get a good service and a safe service.
Katie, thank you so much. That's Katie Thompson there, President of the Society of Radiographers. Good to have your time tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Still to come on the programme, we'll hear about the search for a flamingo that has taken flight from a wildlife sanctuary in Cornwall. And in the sport, we'll reveal why Tottenham players Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven apologised to their head coach Thomas Frank.
Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, what will you see next to Benjamin Netanyahu? In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent. I've interviewed some of America's most recognisable politicians. Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from the UK?
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
Mr Walker, you're anti-abortion, but 2 women say that you paid for their abortions. Are you a hypocrite, sir?
Connor, what did you say to the President? What did you say?
We had a great meeting. He was a great man.
I'm David Blevins, one of Sky's US correspondents, based in Washington, D.C. David Blevins from Sky News. Fire chiefs say that they're really stretched to the limit and running out of water. What have you got to say to that?
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here.
Why only in America? Why is this American exceptionalism?
I just want to understand why you do not think that guns are the problem.
Why is this just an American problem?
The anger too, and the division.
Where are you from? From Sky News, UK.
Yeah.
Back up.
Mr Navarro,
Well, it's my... I'm allowed to ask questions, aren't I?
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding, Mr. Musk. Has your ego and ignorance, sir, cost Ukrainian lives?
David Cameron needs to worry about his own country, and frankly, he can kiss my ass.
Mr. Patel, did you endanger public safety when you said the killer was in custody?
Free wherever you get your news.
What words do you have for Harry Dunn's family today?
Have a nice day.
Do you fear a fourth indictment? Is it a draw?
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
Hello, welcome back. David is here with the sport, and they are saying sorry at Spurs, but not for the result against Chelsea, for something else.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of known as Snubgate. This is Thomas Frank, the Spurs head coach, clapping the fans after their contribution, although he still had some words to say about that. Something that Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven didn't do, and as the full-time whistle blew, there were boos around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and he's asking them to go and clap the fans. They decide not to.
Go on, off you go, yeah.
And they go down the tunnel. Now, obviously, since then, the players have apologised to Thomas Frank. He did say this today. Kind of relieved, though, because they're playing Copenhagen tomorrow back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He wants to just close, this one off. He wants to draw the line under it and then sort of just crack on and prepare for the game in the Champions League.
Tottenham 5th in the league at the moment, 17th last season. Less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
Some fans unhappy with the man.
Yeah. I mean, I think particularly because the type of football they're playing, they're just not creating enough. They didn't have a single shot on target against Chelsea in that second half. 3 home wins in 19 in the Premier League. And their away form has been great, so that's what's keeping them fifth. It's a very competitive Premier League as well. Man City, Man United, Liverpool have all had stumbles at different points so far this season. But the thing is, Arsenal are top by 6 points, and they've had 7 clean sheets in a row, and they're looking, pretty impeccable right now.
Hurts if you're a Spurs fan.
If you're a Spurs fan, that does hurt quite a lot. So that's as far as Thomas Frank is concerned, and hopefully as far as he's concerned, that one is done and dusted. Let's bring you the rest of the sporting headlines this evening.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Well, Evertonians are getting restless. Their team can't score goals and they need a win. The prospect of another long struggle against relegation is already looming. And Ruud Gullit isn't happy at the way things are mapping out at Newcastle either. They're just as desperate for points. So a real crunch match this.
There was some whisperings in the press, but there was no indication whatsoever of the imminent nature of what was going to happen that night.
It happened very quickly. I think I only got told maybe a couple of days leading up to the Newcastle game that the agent was phoning me saying that the club were looking to sell you. Yeah, it came out the blue really. Something I wasn't looking to do, I wasn't looking to move. I didn't want to move for the club.
We were under pressure from the bank to get the overdraft down. We were playing Newcastle and the chairman and joint owner were there and I wasn't there, I wasn't privy. It was news to me when it came through. Newcastle had come in with an £8 million offer. And Peter accepted it.
There were murmurs as the night progressed, and then it sort of reached the crescendo around the half.
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Staff at a wildlife sanctuary in Cornwall are searching for a flamingo that escaped. The flamingo, called Frankie, apparently got out of the walled garden at Paradise Park in Hale on Sunday morning, despite having clipped wings. The flamingo is the second one to be bred at the park, and there have been a number of sightings, but Frankie remains missing. Well, let's try and find it, shall we? We can speak to the director of Paradise Park, Nick Reynolds, because let's face it, people need to keep their eyes peeled for Frankie. Talk to us about what happened.
Well, she was seen in the morning at 7:30 by our first look around by one of our keepers, which we do every single day. And then after that, she wasn't seen. So we've been then searched the whole park looking for her and no sign. And eventually we had to make a call out saying, if anybody sees our lovely girl, then please tell us.
Yeah, talk to me about your lovely girl, because she really is special to the park, isn't she?
She really is special. She's the second flamingo we've bred here at Paradise Park. The first one we hand reared, and this one was one that was actually reared by its parents on the lagoon here at the park. So it's very special to have a bird that's been parent reared rather than hand reared.
Yeah, and regular visitors have seen Frankie grow. You know, I've had a look at your Facebook page and the videos documenting Frankie grow up, as it were. That's a picture of her there because, you know, when people are looking out for a flamingo, they expect her to be fully pink, but she's so young. She's mainly grey with a pink head. How could you spot her, and what should people do if they do see Frankie?
Yeah, she's very special to us, and she's really made our year, to be honest, because it's been difficult for zoos and attractions across the country. And so Frankie's really brought a lot of customers into us, which has been fantastic. So as a spotter, you would see her, if you see her flying, you'll see her legs out the back, and you'll see her neck stretched out at the front. And that's the way the flamingos fly. So that's how you'd spot her. And obviously she's this dappled grey colour with a pink head and a very sort of bent beak, not like you know, a stork, which we've had reports of today as the storks. But they've got a long straight beak. So yes, she's quite distinguished in her looks.
Yeah. How far can she go? Has anybody actually officially spotted her since she went missing yesterday morning?
Well, she was seen in Porthtowan, which is about 12 miles away, at about 10:15, we think. It's not a really confirmed sighting, but pretty good. And then she was seen back down towards us in Hale, just within a mile of us. And then we had a photograph of her in the air. So we've definitely had a sighting of her in the air in Hale yesterday afternoon about 2:30.
Oh, well, listen, Nick, I really hope that you're reunited with Frankie. Just quickly, how can people get in touch if they do spot her in Cornwall near Hale?
That's all we're waiting for is for that call to say we definitely spotted her and there she is. So ring the park. There's a number which I'm sure you'll be putting up for us, or through our Facebook page. We'll take any sightings, please. That'd be lovely.
All right, Nick, well, good luck. We hope you're reunited. That's Nick Reynolds there at Paradise Park in Hale, Cornwall. Do get in touch if you see Frankie, her picture you saw just there. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8. See you then.